Paulina Luna, the Florida Republican Congresswoman, is among those who view it that way. Kind enough to join us now. Congresswoman, good to see you again. What do you make of this and where things are likely to go with TikTok now?
Well, exactly as you stated and exactly as Representative Crenshaw stated, this has been a massive honeypot gathering operation. That's a term used in the intelligence community for when you basically trick someone into gathering information. And that's really what they've done. You know, if you have the app, if you're a parent and you have a child that has this app on their phone, understand that you are opening up all of your private information and data as well to this company and the CCP. So I have been a massive, massive advocate and voice in banning this altogether. And unfortunately, there will be a lot of people upset about this, but ultimately my goal and objective is the safety and security not only of America's children, but our country. And that's not going to continue if we have this app on people's phones.
All right. Now, a lot of kids who love this app, as you know, Congresswoman, say, well, American social media companies do the same thing with us. They track our browsing history, location, even biometric identifiers. I have no idea what that means, but that this is something that happens everywhere. The issue clearly here is it's very different when China does it. But how do you convince young people that if it goes the direction you and a lot of your colleagues want on both sides of the aisle and this thing goes away, they're not going to be happy?
Well, unfortunately, when they get older, they are going to be faced with some very difficult decisions, sometimes for their own children and for their country. And they will have to decide, is this really about doing what feels good or what's the right thing to do? Ultimately, I want to remind these young people that the Communist Chinese Party would never allow for an American-owned app to show basically a Tide Pod eating challenge or twerking videos to the young people there. They are intentionally doing this not only as an effort to dumb down our youth, but they're also doing it because they don't want us to be pursuing things like the mathematics, science and technology industries. And so this is something that they've done. It's a long-term goal of theirs. It's not only intelligence gathering, but it's a psychological operation. And so I'm okay with explaining that to any young person, but we cannot allow any further for the CCP to have a leg up, especially in our culture and our communities.
You know, you raised something interesting last time we talked. That people forget that TikTok is owned by ByteDance. It's self-controlled by China, and more to the point, the China Communist Party. There had been ideas floated around, what if it was spun off from ByteDance? But a lot of your colleagues have said that wouldn't do the job. China's tentacles would still be in TikTok. Did I get that right?
Yes, and I think that they are absolutely correct. And notice that this is also a bipartisan support because we understand from a national security and intelligence perspective that the CCP has not just been infiltrating us on our social media and apps, but everything from our shipping industry to our military. I mean, they're literally spying on us. And so whether or not they have a third-party company that's going to be involved, ultimately, if these third-party companies are still working with the CCP, if they still have access, there's no accountability that we have to ensure that they aren't directly collecting data. And I think that that's exactly why no adult should allow their child to have this not only on their phones. And I can tell you, Neil, that I don't have any social media apps on my phone whatsoever because of this concern.
So let me just get your follow-ups on where you think this goes. I mean, it's one thing for governments to ban it on government-owned devices and government workers' devices, you know, as Canada's doing. What Canada wanted to might still want to extend it to everybody. How do you do that?
Well, from our perspective, we're going to start with an outright ban altogether. This is not just something that stays isolated. Once you have it on your phone, Neil, they might be able to access other devices using Bluetooth, using internet without you even acknowledging it or knowing it. And so ultimately, my stance and perspective is if we wouldn't allow for the CCP to open up a facility here on American soil, if we were fighting so hard to prevent the Communist Chinese Party from owning farmlands near our American bases, why would we give them access to one of the most important things that every single person has? And that is your personal information and data. And so from my perspective, and something that I will continue to be fighting for, and this does bring into a bigger discussion on big tech, how do we prevent privacy from being breached and being exploited by enemies of our country?